Hi guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Puddles and I'm an animator / illustrator from Canada. And in this video I will be animating a simple head turn using OpenToonz. During my 2 years studying animation, I got really used to the software that the school provided, which was Toon Boom Harmony and Adobe Animate. But there was no way I could afford these programs after graduation, so in order to keep animating, I searched up cheap, free alternatives and found OpenToonz. OpenToonz is a free open source animation software. Not sponsored. Fun fact about this video, I actually made a script about OpenToonz 2 years ago, back when I first tried out the software, so this is a long time coming. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I will be animating a simple head turn, so without further delay, let's start animating. Before setting up my scene in OpenToonz, I created a storyboard on a piece of paper beforehand. Making a storyboard allows me to use it as reference when posing out my animation. On my storyboard, I sketched out the beginning and end poses, or main key poses, with a rough outline for the timing and spacing of the animation, as well as the arc I wanted the animation to follow. To set up the scene, I first make a new scene in the Sandbox tab and label it. For this, I will call it Head Turn Draft 001, but you can call your animation whatever you want to, and I don't really mess with the canvas settings because there isn't really a reason to. OpenToonz is very customizable, so organize your canvas and windows however you want. I'm fine with the default settings. To add a new blank drawing, you can use this shortcut Alt+D. When in doubt, use shortcuts. I didn't do this in the recording because for the past 2 years of using the software, I didn't know that there was a shortcut for this. So that's on me. After making a new blank drawing, you can now select your raster brushes. It's a bit of a scroll, but the brush I decided to go for to draw in my key poses is the sketch brush. For the sake of organization, I went ahead and made the color of the brush blue, and to help me know what layer is my sketch layer. Now we can actually start drawing our key poses, referencing our storyboard as we draw. While drawing out the poses, the pen decided that now would be the best time to glitch. I figured out later that this happens whenever I hold my pen slightly horizontal, and it is the root of my annoyance. It was like this the entire time I was animating, and it made me want to punch my tablet the entire session. Before you ask, yes, I calibrated my tablet and pen before this recording, it still glitches regardless. Speaking of glitches, this is as good a time as any to segue into another topic, which is saving your work. I've had OpenToonz crash on me before, and it is not fun, making me lose all of my progress, and I don't want this to happen to you because it is a real buzzkill. So just remember to save and save often. Since my storyboard only has the beginning and end pose, I need to fill in the blanks with in-between drawings and breakdown drawings. After sketching the key poses on my draft layer, I flip through them quickly and adjust their timing and position on the canvas. Running into my second problem, the select tool. The select tool for me also glitches, and in order to select anything, you have to make sure that you select the frame as well before you are able to move anything on your canvas. And even moving the image around on the canvas is a hassle because it is so laggy. To draw the actual rough animation, I created another raster layer above my sketch layer, and on this layer I will be drawing my animation breakdowns and in-betweens. The reason why I'm going so slow animating this head turn is because I had to refamiliarize myself with the software, and because I realized that my original 2 keyframes weren't going to be enough of a guide for the rest of the rough animation, meaning that I now had to mentally picture the arc and imagine the drawing in 3D to get the angles of the head in the correct perspective. The biggest thing you might struggle with, and what I sometimes struggle with when animating, is keeping volumetric shapes consistent between one pose to the other, but you can amend this by using your onion skin and adjusting the drawings as you go, and that can help, keep your volumetric shapes, because that's what the onion skin is there for. I didn't like how the first key pose looked in the sketch layer, so I do redraw that a lot, because no matter what I did, it just didn't look right to me. It became more apparent what was wrong when I added more features to the character later. In-betweening the animation was more or less easy. Just add poses in between the keyframes, following the arcs, and break down the pose to connect to the main key poses. Simple, although somehow I'm able to make that sound complicated, as well as adjusting the positions of your poses as you draw the head turn. For my head turn, I wanted the character to turn their head down before popping back up to the resting pose. It was difficult to in-between this while trying to keep the head itself consistent. A problem I had while doing the in-betweens was the neck. I should have put it on a separate layer, but I didn't. It just took a lot more fudging around to make the motion look correct, and moving the drawings themselves so they could be closer together and follow the arc Every once in a while, I play back the animation and adjust the timing. I do this for every new drawing I make because depending on the timing, the animation could be too fast or too slow. OpenToonz lets you add and subtract frames really easily with a shortcut, or you can drag the end of the animation cell itself to your desired spacing. It does help to have a timing chart to help keep track of everything, although I personally never really got the hang of this. I just sort of eyeball the spacing, and if it looks good enough for me, then that's the timing, and then I draw the chart after. But your timing chart doesn't have to be a permanent thing. Just be aware that you do need to slow down and adjust your drawing's timing and play back your animation as things progress. Because if you don't, then your animation could look off, and if you don't adjust every so often, then it becomes a big hassle when you have to go back and adjust things. You don't want to be adjusting 100 frames because you didn't play back your animation and now it looks weird. But you can always come back and adjust it too if you need to. A thing I wanted to mention about eyes. From what I learned in school is that you should have your character blink as they turn to make them feel more alive. People naturally blink when they quickly move their head to adjust to their new surroundings. And you don't want your character to be staring into your soul the whole time, so make them blink. It does help them feel more alive if you add blinking and breathing so they don't just look like drawings. After adding more features to my character, like the face, eyes, nose, and mouth, I added a hairline, aka more things I have to keep track of. Keeping track of the angles and planes of the face is kind of a bother, but it does make the animation look better overall. For the neck movement, like I mentioned, I struggled with it. When the neck twists, the movement itself is difficult, and it's hard to make the motion look cohesive. Having things on a different layer would have made things easier, but it does look good enough for me after 10 minutes of fudging with it. The main problem I had with the neck was when the head turns down, the neck gets shorter because perspective. So it was mainly a perspective thing the entire time. Sorry about my voice, I think I'm coming down with a cold or something. Adding other features helps develop secondary motion. I mentioned the eyes, mouth, neck, and mainly the hair. When the movement of the head is to my liking, and after adding all of the other elements of the face, I create a new layer and blank drawings to add the actual hair instead of the hairline. The reason why the hair is on a different layer is so I can play around with the timing and keep the motion itself, in motion. I don't know. It's for secondary motion. It's alright keeping the same timing as the head turn because I didn't want to mess around with it too much. The result isn't the prettiest, but it gets the job done. Once the animation was where I wanted it, and after adding more in-betweens than originally planned, I did a couple more playbacks of the animation and adjusting the timing and the spacing so it looks superb. And I also changed the orientation of the drawings. I wanted this simple head turn to be quick and easy, so I won't bother continuing the cleanup. The 50 minutes I spent on this was enough for me. I was kind of getting frustrated with the constant glitching, so I figured it was better to take a break instead of breaking my tablet, so I left it in its rough state. But if I wanted to, I could continue to clean up the lines and add color and add more secondary motion and probably a background too for the hell of it. But I left it in its rough state anyway. I saved and exported my work to a GIF and MOV file. It's not the best animation in the world, but to me it turned out surprisingly well since I haven't animated something complex in a long time. And here's the result of my 50 minutes of agony. I did post the GIF version a couple of days ago on my community page, but if I wanted to, like I said, I would continue the process in the next step of animation, which is cleanup and coloring. But this was enough for me. Just for the hell of it, I figured I would make a pros/cons list for OpenToonz. So the pros is that it is a free open source software. It's pretty beginner friendly. Once you figure things out, it is smooth sailing. It's organized. It's very customizable for your preferences. Has a lot of pen options. And it does have bones for rigging, which is surprising considering it's a free software. And insert other good thing here and free. Cons, it crashes. It has a confusing UI, it glitches, it's very tutorial heavy. In the beginning I did need to use tutorials in order to figure out the software itself and how to animate and add effects and whatever. And you need to remember to download an FFmpeg file, and every time you update your OpenToonz, you need to remember to take that FFmpeg file to every version of the update. Customizable is also a con because you could customize it too much and then you have to reset your work so then all that customization was purposeless. It is intimidating at first. I do say it's beginner friendly, but it is intimidating for beginners. And sliders. The pens are on sliders and I hate this with every fiber in my being. So that's the pros and cons list. but you can still produce good animations despite its flaws, and it is a struggle to use, but in my mind it's worth the hassle because it is free. Who doesn't love not spending money for things? It's very customizable to suit your animation needs. It feels like a one-stop shop software, personally. It does have every step of the animation process in mind, with the different windows and customization. It just has a lot of things built into it. I would recommend it for anyone who wants to get into animation and can't because of the prices. Toon Boom. If you need to animate on a tight budget, I genuinely do recommend OpenToonz. Again, not sponsored. But thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe so you won't miss out on any new content, and I will see you in the next video.